I guess that's it. Hold on, I don't see us on Insta. Hmm. Mm. Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay.
I see YouTube.
Do you see YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I think we're good now.
You know,
Yay! Okay, okay. Well, sorry about the lack of countdown, guys. I don't really know what happened there, but
I
it's a little
blame
bit
Jay.
past. You said what?
I blame Jay.
I know it's Jay's fault. Everything that goes wrong is his fault when he's away. Okay, that's
Yeah.
just what we're going. How we going to do that. But anyway, happy Tuesday. Welcome to the Tit for Tat podcast. I am Carolyn. I'm obviously one of your hosts. I know Jay. Oh, we're like waiting for Jay's like super lengthy
The tip for
intro.
tat.
No fancy intro
The
today,
tip for
guys.
tat.
Sorry. We do have Tiffany and Eddie with us today as usual. Super excited. It's been a couple weeks since we've been on here, and we have such a hot topic. I'm super excited to get into it. What's your market value? I don't even know where to start with this because there's so many directions that we could go in, honestly. But I mean, let's just get into what market value even means when we discuss it in terms of dating. So I'm going to put it to you guys and just share kind of your thoughts on market value. Is it a term we should even be using? Is it appropriate? Is it problematic? What do you guys think?
Nah, I mean, I think it's a theory. You know what I mean? I think for a long time everybody's been saying that relationships are like a business, and I think if you in the world of a business, of course, there's market and value, and I think for the most part, people use that paradox, and I personally don't. Just because I think a relationship is a lot deeper. It's an emotional connection. It's not so much of a transactional business, even though a lot of people argue that way, which is why we have this topic, which is still valid and relevant, I think.
Do you agree, Tiffany?
for me, I mean, yeah, I agree. For me, I'm like market value. Like I'm an individual and I can't be summed up or appreciated or devalued by amongst a group of other people that aren't me. So to say market value, I was just like, what is this?
Mm.
But so yeah, I don't agree with this. I don't know how all this came about. Let's just say that. But I do have my perspective on it. And I
Yeah, I
think
think that's.
that
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
and I think that women have their own value that they bring to a relationship or bring to the table, and it's not established by any whatever we call market.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, just getting into the term itself. I mean, what are some factors that are used to determine market value? I mean, whether we agree that it's a term that we should be using or it's valid or not, and we're going to obviously get into what we think about it and if we determine, our value or does the market determine our value. But let's take a little time to kind of like think about and discuss what factors are we considering when we talk about market value. And I mean, I know looks is a big one, right? Especially when it comes to women. I've seen a lot of videos on social media. I've talked to a lot of men personally about this. And, beauty is something that is part of your market value. Like the more beautiful you're considered, the more value you have when it comes to the dating economy. Would you guys agree with that?
I mean, yeah, of course, traditionally, I think my theory is that it all came from that Kevin Samuels moment where he was like ranking people and saying someone was a four or he had all these crazy terms, and he literally came from a corporate environment, and he was making dating and ranking women as a corporate like ideology. It was crazy interesting because I mean, not that I agree with any of it, but I had a lot of family and friends that were just like really hanging on to every word that he was. And I remember watching a couple episodes going, wow, like this is like the smartest, stupidest shit I've ever seen. because like
Right.
if you don't know who you are and you're not in tune with yourself, you will buy into this. Like he sounds intelligent. I mean, he is intelligent, and he is no, he knows what he's talking about in a sense of like what people need in terms of a business transaction. But as we stated earlier, I mean, love has a lot of X factors. Relationships have a lot of X factors that we can't. It's like when you watch boxing. It's easy to look at boxing and go, oh, tell the tape. 32 against a 27-year-old. He's tall and he's short and all this. But then when the fight turn on, you see the guy with the most losses knock out the dude that's undefeated. We see it all the time. And I think relationships are kind of the same way. You can see someone and be like, man, I don't see what y'all see, but this is my king or this is my queen. But Kevin Samuels, I think, brought this whole market value. That was the first time I'd ever heard of market value attached to relationships, is when Kevin Samuels had his era, if you will, and a lot of it was valid. Like I said, if you listen to it, it's like, wow, that's interesting. But then I think he also, even women started kind of talking that way, like what I'm looking for in a man. He needs to. It was, I don't know, man. It just got kind of ugly, I thought, in my opinion. But it is because it is. I think it's relevant because people do look at love this way.
And I agree with Eddie because, and maybe I'm triggered by the word. I'm in real estate. So when I see market value, I'm thinking commodities. I'm thinking a home, like, who, how many square feet, how I'm like, so now women are being compared to, and women and men are being compared to something, tangible that, has certain features and certain things that qualify you. Like, it's almost like you want to do a CMA against all the women, like comparison analysis. So maybe the word triggered me and I'm like, but I'm not a commodity. So that's what I thought about, but I totally agree with that. But if you're saying that, if you're in the dating world, right, and you need some kind of temperature or some type of measure, maybe you're dating 3 people, right, and you need a way in your mind to evaluate these people and decide who it is you're gonna cut off and pursue, then I don't know, maybe that's a way to make that decision if you are dating multiple people and you're trying to figure out the differences and who you like or something like that.
Yeah, I agree. The term is triggering for me because I feel like it is catered more towards women. And to Eddie's point, I think it came from, that kind of Kevin Samuels era. And I was actually surprised at how many men that I knew personally who were like intelligent, successful, accomplished men who like listened to this guy and started like regurgitating the terms that he was using and saying, like things like high value and market value and things like that. And in my mind, I'm just like, that is ridiculous to me. And but he had, like I said, a lot of people tuned in and followed and kind of like bought into, if you will, his kind of ideology about that. And it's funny because, again, if you're a fan of Kevin Samuels, then, I hear a lot of people say, well, everything he said was right. It was just the delivery, that was offensive to most people or to the women that it was offending. And in my opinion, it wasn't just the delivery. I don't believe or agree with the things that he was saying. Like, my first introduction to Kevin Samuels was actually a video where there was an older woman calling in and she said, I would like a high value man. And, he was basically like, okay, well, why do you deserve a high value man? First of all, that triggered me because, like, what do you mean? How can you're about to tell her why she does or does not deserve a high value man based on your opinion? Like, that was unfair to me, first of all. But then he proceeds to break this woman down, and I was humiliated for her, because he was like, well, she was divorced. So she was looking for a high value man, and she was extremely educated. I think she had one child. They were like around 15. She was around 48 or 49. And he basically just tore her down. And he said, you don't have the market value to get or deserve a high value man because one, her age, right? I mean, he literally said you're like half a century old, which just blew me because I'm getting
Yeah,
close to
he's
that age. And
wild.
it's just like, I mean, yeah, it's so freaking rude, you know. And then the fact that she already had a kid, and his, you know, thought process or explanation behind it was, okay, well, in the dating market, men value beauty and like your ability to have kids. Those are the two prime things that men value in the dating economy. This is Kevin Samuel saying that I don't agree with this, and Eddie, maybe you can give us some insight to your thoughts onto this. But he said, you know, because of your age, and then he didn't, because he personally didn't find her that attractive. Like I think he might have rated her like a five or like average at best. And so he's just basically tearing this woman down and making her feel like she doesn't deserve a high value man and making her feel stupid for even saying it. By the end of the conversation, she was actually retracting her initial statement as to wanting a high value man because she was starting to think, oh yeah, maybe I don't deserve one. And that instantaneously turned me off to him. Like I was like, I never could quite open myself up to anything that he was really saying because after that I was just like done. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, Eddie, would you agree with that statement from a man's perspective? Do you think that in terms of market value and dating, the two leading, you know, measurements are beauty and age, or beauty and your ability to bear children, which ties into age?
You know, but the insensitive part, and because I'm a man, I'm late to the education. I know women know this way before we do. I didn't realize how hard it is to have kids. Like you can be 25. I know family members that are 25 that had to get in. What's it? IVF.
IVF.
Look at that new word I learned. So and I heard that's a normal thing. I have people that literally are like not even 30 yet that are having a hard time having kids. So how does he know that? How can you just assume? And then I have an older sister that had a kid in her 50s. Real talk, and she ain't the healthiest person in the world. Sorry, Mimi, but my point is like you don't know. So that's why like it's funny for him to say all this. But he sounds educated because I saw an episode where he was asking a woman like her weight and her height, and then he called her a running back. He said the average running back in the NFL, you would be a running back. Like I
That's
was like,
horrible.
you don't call this grown woman. And the sad thing is that this woman was like really trying to get feedback. Like she wasn't pushing back. She wasn't being nasty or being offended. She was like, well, oh, I'm 5'4", I weigh 180, and he was like, oh, see right there, oh, right there, and he was just killing her, and she was eating it up because I guess she was on the show to try to be better or learn more about what the market means, whatever that word means. But like it was just sad because at the end of the day, like I guess he misses the value, on like what a relationship really entails. And that people can actually lose weight. Like that happens. You know what I mean? And like I don't know why this cat just like doesn't understand that in a relationship someone can be better for you. I know my wife's made me 100 times better. Like put me on to so many things. It really at the end of the day, women put men on to so much. I mean, what's Tupac's line? I learned my game from a woman, got my name from a woman. And that's the realest thing he's probably ever said. So at the end of the day, like you can't take people at face value because if they're in the right relationship, you won't recognize them after a year. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's all superficial clickbait. And the sad thing is that even though he passed on, he started a fire because now you got Fresh and Fit, you got Fugazi, you got all these like fuck boys that got their own platform doing the Kevin Samuel-esque type of, podcast. We've all seen them clicks. You're like, damn, it just makes it sad because they never bash white women like that. That's the oops, that's another episode. But
we're gonna get to that. No, we're gonna get to that in this
always
episode.
all women. That ain't enough.
Yeah,
like that's the most original thing. Black women came out the womb being told they weren't enough. So you gonna, as a grown man, do that? That's just so cheap, man. That's cheap.
I think the way that people should be looking at things, you should be assessing yourself, the value that you bring, and what you can obtain as a human individual, you bring something to a relationship, and based on the things that you can bring to a relationship, your own value that you assess for yourself will determine the value of another person that will come to your life, because you're only ever going to get or reflect as much as you value yourself and think of yourself as. So if you think that, if you just say out your mouth, I want a high value man, but you as a person aren't, don't have any value to give or bring, you're just a taker, then how you think you're going to attract a high value person?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
But I think that, again, like, just like beauty, I mean, value, beauty, all of it is really in the eyes of the beholder. I can look at a man, and I have my own personal things that I value as a woman and what I want in a partner, and assess whether or not I determine that to be that person to be of high value or the value that I want, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is, I would think that that's vice versa, that goes for anyone, right? But somehow society, and social media and this thing, again, and to Eddie's point, black men and black women, like, because this is where it seems to live, you don't see, you know, men talking about other races like that, or saying, um, that they're low value or high value, or that they don't, what they do or don't deserve. And so that's an interesting dynamic as well. So I really want to focus on, like, why do we think men and women, particularly in our community, see value so differently? Because the men will say, well, women only see our value lies in how much money we make, right? um and I don't think that's true for every woman at all, but that is what most men think about their value. And so I feel like, and I can't speak from a man's perspective, but from a woman's perspective, I feel like if you're looking for a man and he doesn't have he's not a high earner, I think a lot of men, that messes with their ego and their confidence, because they're feeling like women only want men with at a certain income level, and that could kind of cause us not to be able to connect with one another in ways that we actually do find value in. But because there's so much emphasis placed on this one thing, then the connection's not necessarily being made. And I think that's problematic. What are your guys' thoughts?
I think that perception has become reality, right? So, in everything that we see, whether it's social media, whether it's advertisements, which social media is an advertisement, I think perception is reality. So, everyone has come as a collective to perceive these different things about people. And now they just think it's the reality. So, men just think it's the reality that women just want them for their money or how much they can provide or bring to the table, and vice versa. The perception out there is that, beauty, size, all these different things are what men want. But I mean, I don't think that's the reality of individuals if you don't allow it to be.
Yeah, 100%. I think I've seen it for the last. I mean, I think honestly, everything revolves around divorce. Now, I think divorce is out of control more than I've ever seen in the history of my life. I remember being in elementary school, and out of like a class of 26 kids, there was probably like, it would be me and like four other people that had come from a divorced family. Now it's on its face. Like, divorce is so relevant now, and everyone, it's like you're 1 degree or you yourself are dealing with like a divorce. Everybody's talking about divorce, like it's like, and you've seen people go through it, and it becomes like trauma bonding. And then you see the trauma, and you almost kind of like, you're scared because you hear about it. You saw it with your parents, you saw it with your brother, you saw it with your best friend, you saw what happened. It's almost like a war, like literally a war. So now people, now that they're up to bat, to getting married or wanting to fall in love with someone. Now everyone's in their ear, like uncle and daddy and big brothers are like, and friends are like, yo, be easy. Yo, find out who she is, because you know how these girls moving now. Don't let them get you the way to get me. So you hearing like this, like it's like a get me culture with this divorce thing. They incentivizing divorce for these women. It's like they don't even gotta be with you, homie. Like they can just divorce you and say, I'm not happy, and take everything, homie. You don't want to be like Joey and them and Ray and them. What they do, yo, he in jail right now because he ain't paying child support. You believe that? I had to bail him out. Now everybody got a story. Everyone's heard the story. Everyone's been a part of that story. So now everyone's super squirrely about marriage and relationships. So now you got these people, like I said, these podcasts and people with this mentality of protect yourself, that women are the enemy, they out to get us. But like it's like I think it's a battle between nature versus nurture, because you can't help who you love, who you want to build with, but then it's almost like you're afraid of them. Now there's this fear because you saw what happened to your mama, you saw what happened to your daddy, and shit. Maybe this happened to you in your last relationship, And the point is like I've never seen this kind of level of like fear in us, especially men, because now it's like it's turned into this like, they out to get us, and everyone has a casualty story, if you will. So now, and because women are like more powerful, more educated, making more money. Now it's like there's more of a fear in most men that are thinking, oh, they don't need us no more. They might just, use us and then leave us, and then what are we gonna do? And it's like now you have these men with this crazy like egos and masculine. And it's like it's wild right now. Like I'm seeing it like right in front of me with people I know and respect. And it's scary, man. It's got people on edge, and it makes me sad because, like, I go back to what I said, and I guess I'm a romantic. Like, love is all about. It's about having faith. It's the most. It's the most important ministry you'll ever be a part of in your life. It's about faith, and I don't think a lot of people right now are running with faith anymore. They don't believe in faith. They want to see. It's like when you ever been in a car with someone that got anxiety. They got to know where every single maneuver is from the GPS. What exit, what turn, what this, what time we're gonna get there, what's the ETA. Nobody can just get in the car and sit their ass down and get there. They no. And that's how relationships are looking now, I think. And that's why the fear-based podcasting of relationships is winning more than ever. So this is great. I think I go back to the saying, this is God's work, man. We're really kind of adding perspective and even positivity to what we're trying to do with each other, because everybody else is doing the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I really want to kind of dig into why is it that Black women and Black men look at value differently? Because
I know with men, the people, the friends and family that I know that appreciated Kevin Samuels, this is what they all said, and I understood what they mean, is that they felt like women are just not accountable, and he was the only show, not anymore, but the only show at the time that was holding women accountable. Because you'd have these women that would say, I want a man that's a millionaire. I want a man that owns houses and has boats and yachts, but they work at like, they're a clerk at a Walmart. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's like he would kind of like shame them and thinking, you want a millionaire, but who are you? Do you got a degree? No, but I want a man with a degree. Mm-hmm. You want a man to be 6 foot, but you only 5'2"? Like he would like shame them into thinking like, who are you to deserve a guy like that? And then he would break it down, like, and who they were and put them in this market value to make them feel like you're asking for the world. And then he'd break down like how much an average man makes in a year. And I think men loved it because it was like this, yeah, finally a woman gets to know her value, because it was always this idea that like a woman, and I kind of agree with this. Most women think that it's just enough for them to show up. And then the man has to do all the heavy lifting in a relationship, or heavy lifting in, even on a date sometimes. You kind of have to be the funny one, the interesting one, where a woman that's real cute could just fold her arms and be like, what you got, and not have to really bring anything, And I think that's what made a lot of these podcasts, and even now, are because they love that someone is shaking a finger at a woman saying, you see, you ain't shit either.
I hear you. And I hear that a lot, that women don't take accountability. That's something that we've discussed on this show. I find it so hard to understand. But my thing is when you say that, like when women have that attitude, and this very much ties into market value, because a lot of women feel like they they're bringing a lot to the table, right? So when they have that attitude of I am just sitting back seeing how you move or what you do, it's like, okay, you got to impress me. I'm the one. Like you said, just trying to. They're just showing up, seeing what you're gonna do or how you're gonna fit into their life. I mean, I think that men helped create that mindset. And then it's so funny because then women get called delusional. And I definitely want to get into this. Like women get called delusional because I hear a lot of men say that we value ourselves at a higher level than what we are. Like me, and I'm just going to use numbers for the sake of talking about it. So, say I consider myself a 9 or a 10 or an 8, whatever. But then men think that I'm only a 6, right? And so then that's where that delusional part comes in. But my pushback to that would be, first of all, beauty's in the eyes of the beholder. You know, like if I feel like I am what I am based on who I am inside and that radiates on the outside, then that's my business. It's like if I can't define who I am, then who, like, why can anybody else define who I am but me? So you're telling me as the man where I'm at, you know, and that makes no sense to me. And that's why when we did the poll today, I was surprised because the majority of the men said that the market determines the value. And the majority of the women say that you determine your value. So I'm wondering, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying, I'm wondering where that discrepancy is coming in. And you know, if you're tuned in with us, why don't you share your thoughts in the chat? Like, where is that discrepancy coming from? Who actually determines your value? Is it you or is it the market, and why?
So in a man's world, and you're the exception. Both of y'all are the exception. You know, men believe in hierarchy, and we've learned it from day one. Whether we were playing dodgeball or basketball, we knew right away in second, third grade that they were picking Joey, they were picking Daryl, and then you were the last one. So that kind of told you that you weren't good enough to be on the team, but or you weren't even being picked at all. And then after every recess, every day, they know that, damn, who got? Oh, I guess you got Eddie. And I knew I was the liability. And then there's a point where a man kind of decides and understands, this is my station. I'm kind of I gotta work harder. You're the exception, Carolyn and Tiff, because y'all had to like compete to get y'all spots. You know, you as an entrepreneur, Tiff, and then you as a basketball player. You knew your place. Someone told you you're D1, you're D2, you're D3 because you had to compete against a camp of people that you had to beat out in hierarchy. That's kind of a normal man's life. Like we're told all the time, you're not cute, you're fat, you're short, you're tall, you're hot. So even from day one, most men know where they stand in hierarchy. And that's why I think most of us agree to the fact that the market determines our value. I don't agree with all of that, where in this case, where Kevin Samuels, why Kevin Samuels was winning when he came out is that he was holding these women to a hierarchy of saying, you know, no one's ever told you who the truth of who he thought you were. So he was introducing women against other women. Like, according to this pool of D1 women, you would not start on this team, you know? And I think that's what he was trying to introduce, hierarchy to a woman's culture, which is not very normal, to be honest. Like, women don't really deal with hierarchy. I mean, you know, naturally, unless they're an athlete or entrepreneur. But my point is like most women kind of don't know where they fit in the hierarchy. That's why sometimes you'll see, and every woman's done this. I know my sisters have. They've seen a woman kind of show out and they frowned on, like, did this chick know she's only a 3? Like, no one's ever said like the number or ranking, but women all know, like, that girl is not cute in that shirt. Who told her that?
Like she thinks she all that, but she really not all that.
And she got the flash, like she really got the handles out, and she over here like Lizzoing. So, and that's the thing that offends some people because they like, someone didn't tell her, you know. And that's what Kevin Samuels ended up kind of winning because he created this hierarchy system for women. that kind of showed them. And I don't agree with it, but it was like something that men deal with on the regular. That's why most of us do believe in the market value, where women don't know their market value because no one's ever told them, like, you're fat, you're ugly, you're short, you're this, you're that. Like, that's not normal for a woman. Everyone's like, yo, you winning, girl. Look at your hair, girl. And you might be like not very attractive, but most women will build you up to be like you are all that. Where men always check each other, like, bruh, like, that shirt is not working, homie. Yo, change. Them J's is scraped up, homie. Like, we joan on each other all day, and that's kind of builds our hierarchy. It lets us know, like, damn, I guess I don't dress well, you know? So someone's told us the truth from day one, whether it was brother, cousin, or even our own mama. You know what I mean? So that's why I think that's why there was such a like different viewpoint in terms of market value versus not.
Tiffany, I felt like you had something to say. You're just so annoyed.
I'm not annoyed. I'm just, I think it's interesting that men would say, I mean, if you look at it from a perspective of men are hunters and they get to choose who they're going to pick, they get to assess the market value. But at the same time, it's 2025, so the woman is going to come with her established value, and it may be different from a man. I mean, I'm looking at this once again. I go back to something like this: a bodybuilding competition, and you got three judges judging the same person. They may assess different values on the same body.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Right? We see it all. Like, I've never competed because I know it's subjective and I don't want my feelings hurt. But I'm just saying, like, that's kind of like how I think about it when you have someone standing in front of you. If you're just going off of how they present themselves to you, you could have three judges and they all value you differently.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. But I'll be honest, I'm a victim to the value. I used to be a victim to the market value ideal, because I bought into it. Every man socializes at one point, and even still now. Like, for instance, if I was at a party and me and Jay, like your husband Jay, were both looking at you for the first time, and I wanted to holler at you, and I saw him, who's like, in terms of status quo, is like, alpha and looks good, and someone like me would yield and be like, yo, you got that? Because I would assume that you would not look at me before you look at Jay. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, in terms of hierarchy, I'm not Jay at all. Where Jay said, I'm feeling that. I'd be like, yo, you got that, big dog. That's you.
But even using me as an example, right? I've been in relationships before. Obviously, my husband valued me as a something. He married me. He asked me to marry me. But there are other men that I dated that apparently did not value me in that same manner, because if they did, they would have asked me to marry them. So you can have the same woman and each man value her in a different way. So I don't, once again, it leads me back to the market determines your value. Well, what were the different circumstances in the market? Because the market is the men. So I don't.
Yeah, I agree with that now, but I was a victim to it because because I mean, my wife's the same way. I've married up all day. Like, if I ever met my wife's exes, I'd probably buy them a drink because they dropped the ball. You feel me? Like, oh yeah, bro, drinks on me, homie, whatever you need. You know what I mean? Because to me, to your point, it's like, yo, that's the sure winner right there. Who ain't see that? You know what I mean? So, like, at the end of the day, no, I agree with you, because now I'm connected to the emotional part of the relationships. But in the beginning, most men are kind of socialized and told that it's a hierarchy. Kind of, what would Jay say? 666. If you ain't that, then you ain't nothing. And at the end of the day, like, that's how we all know. Like, at the party, at the club, who can we holler at? Oh, not that. Oh, she with that dude. Look at he's 666 all day.
Do you think that impacts, like, the way that men call out women about that? Like, this whole idea of women being delusional, and women, the whole concept that women all want a 666, and therefore they're missing out on good men because that's what they're focused on. Like, do you think that I don't know what the word I'm looking for. Like, do you think that that is a reason why? Because like even if there is a hierarchy, like to me, beauty's in the eyes of the beholder, right? If a man doesn't think that I'm attractive, it doesn't bother me. And I just hear a lot of men like they seem upset that women are delusional and all going for the same high value men, instead of looking at these men here that are not necessarily high value in terms of whatever the market value is for a high value man. I mean, to me, it's really subjective. So I don't know, but let's just to play devil's advocate, let's go with the things that we typically hear. Tall, over six figures, uh, I guess in shape, right? 666, that's what Jay talks about.
Yeah.
Okay. So that by market standards is high value, right? And then you as a man are not in that category. Do you think that that's contributing to is it making men resentful towards women?
I
Because
think
it's
so.
like, oh, you're delusional because you want that instead of what me or what I am, which is I don't fit into that category. Whereas I don't think women are so much get mad at that. Like we don't like if you want long lashes that are fake and long hair that's not real and BBLs or whatever, that's your business. That's what men find attractive. So when we're talking about looks,
They do.
a lot of men do find that attractive. Now, I feel like more and more men are saying we want natural, we want natural. But obviously, there's still a lot of men finding it attractive. And when you look at if you look at a lot of high value men by money and social status, and let's just keep it to like black men, and you consider or look at the type of women that they have in their lives, whether they're dating them, whether they're married to them, or whatever, a lot of them have a certain look that typically the average woman does not have, right? Would you agree with that? Or no? Yes, no, maybe. Depends. Somewhat. I just think that women get a bad reputation um as being delusional because they have a certain standard. And then but when we as women don't meet those standard that men have, we don't it's not something that we get angry about. We don't call men delusional. I don't think we don't call men delusional when they find a certain look attractive or they value beauty in a way that's not necessarily what we are, if that makes sense.
Mm.
And so I think that that is an issue because it's obviously we're not on the same page and it's causing issues between the men and the women. But I guess I'm just trying to understand, and I wish there were some men in the chat that would be willing to speak on that, because if Jay was here, he would definitely do, because Jay is always like calling women delusional and saying, you want this and the third, but
It's
you are
not.
only this.
It's not delusional, right? So women may have expectations, right? And anytime you have expectations, there can be letdowns. That's the part of, if you have expectations, that's on you, and it may not be reciprocal. So maybe the guys are saying it's not reciprocal, therefore you're delusional with your expectations. But once again, expectations is an individualized thing, and maybe like all the contexts that have come out, whether we're talking about Kevin Samuels and other podcasts, they have just said that women's expectations are this. They've lumped every woman into one little box and said that these are women's expectations. Which I have friends, like if I have a friend, if a tall man walked up to her, she would be like, heck to the no, because my neck gonna hurt and I can't even reach up to you. That is not attractive for me.
So she's discriminating against the tall men.
Right. She don't want no tall man. Don't have no that's a turn off for her. So there's when people put out there that the majority of women want 666, that may not be the case, but that's kind of like what everyone has, like I said again, perception is reality. So everyone's put the perception out there. That's what all women want now. That's what everyone thinks the reality is, and it might not be that individual's reality or choice of what they want.
Right. And so therefore we are not delusional, as
No.
they like to say that we are. Okay, I want to go to some interesting comments in the chat. Lotus Chick says men as creatures tend to buy into what is valued in women in their society. Women now do the same more than ever before because a man's value is based on ability to provide. What are your thoughts on that? Do you
I
have
don't
any
think
thoughts
a
on that?
man's value is based on the ability to provide. I'm gonna be honest. Like I've said before, like I was providing by myself. Like I was a homeowner. I was providing. I was doing all the things by myself.
Mm,
In a partnership, I'm not looking for you. I'm not looking for you to provide because I know I can already do that. I'm
Mm.
looking for you to bring something else to the table that is so higher. It's like a godly thing. Like I mean, it's great. It's not like I have degrees and I did all this work just to get married and be like, oh, I'm gonna be. And the people that choose to do that, great, good for you. But like, I did all this work, went to school, all these things, and now I'm gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna stay at home, or I'm gonna be an entrepreneur, and I'm just gonna keep my money for myself and let my husband pay all the bills. No.
yeah.
So I don't think that's their only contribution. Like, there's so much more to relationships and marriages than just putting a roof over your head. There's emotional things. There's all sorts of things that go beyond just being able to provide.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm 100% on board with that. Like, I think one of the sexiest things you know, about my wife is that she actually don't even need me. Like, she was making money before me. She's making money now. All I bring is friendship and support and levity because I'm pretty funny. But then at the same time, like we balance, the house, we contribute like that shit. That's a big time. We contribute. Everything is, hand in hand, washing each other. So it's like it's funny when I hear the word provider because I don't really know what that really means anymore. Because when you have a house and you have each other, you provide everything for each other. And and I don't know. I guess it's like this New Testament stuff because there isn't this one person that does everything. Like I would never let my wife do everything with the kids. Like I want to change diapers. I want to put them for sleep. I want to do bath time. Why would I sit there and be like, you take them to the game and I just be here? Like I know people that live that way. I just would never like want to do that. I want to come to the game. I want to go to see the baby dance. I want to go. Let's go to the recital. I want to go. I want to help out with practice. You know what I mean? Like I want to be a part of that. And she's the same way. So I don't know where that whole like who does more because at the end of the day you'll never do more than a woman to keep it a buck. But as a man you need to attempt to get in there. You know what I mean? Try to snatch some rebounds, get some put do something. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's wild because I think everyone's delusional, man. Because I know for the everyone, even especially men, because sometimes men will just marry for the arm candy, just because she makes me look good. When I go to this meeting, people gonna see this beautiful woman and want to approach me about the deal. Like it's real talk. I know men that marry just off of just that alone. And
Meanwhile, he at home
don't
miserable
say
because
too much. I'm just gonna go ahead and try to.
Okay. And the
meanwhile,
marriage probably won't last.
meanwhile he at home miserable because that's all she brings to the table. She ain't cooking.
Yeah,
She ain't cleaning. She not doing
yeah,
nothing.
And that's
yeah.
crazy to me that men would even do that. Like that is so stupid. But hey, whatever. Maybe that's not a fair word to use, but it makes literally no sense to me. But we know that what people value is different. It's different for everyone. So again, that, leads us back to the original question of what determines someone's value in the dating economy. I have a question for you because Eddie, while we're along the lines of both men and women being delusional to some extent, I hear a lot of men say that, an added aspect to the delusion of women is that they have much fewer options, especially when they are looking for that quote unquote high value men, right? Because they not a lot of them exist, period. And then a lot of the argument leads itself to, okay, so if there's not a lot of these high value men that exist already, and then you want a high value men, you have to be like on a whatever level that high value men want, right? And then again, there's an assumption that high value men are focused on beauty and youth. And while that may be true for some quote unquote high value men, that is not true for all high value men. So is it that Black men, that you guys actually have more options, or is it just less pressure to kind of like level up?
I think I think all men. I mean, even high value regular men, they just want to control a woman. I think that it's this idea that I want to control you. I want you to listen to me. Stop that talking back. Stop that, stop trying to act like you're smarter than me. And it just, and especially men that have come from a certain ilk, that kind of control everything already because of their businesses and their status. They don't want a woman to, most of them, not all of them, but most of them kind of come in with this idea that I just want you to just follow me,
Mm-hmm.
and like I have a lot of friends that are millionaires that are afraid of that. They know, and it's funny. You can almost tell when you meet them. You can tell that their wife, if she like ran her own thing, she'd probably run circles around them. But she don't want that, because that would make him less valuable than her. Like there is no some men don't find it like sexy or cool that a woman can do more than them. They want you to just be a pet, and I see that all the time, like all the time.
I agree with that. I think that's an issue that I've run into, and when I've been dating, it seems like a lot of men don't like to be pushed outside their comfort zone or challenge. And I'm just the type of woman that's going to challenge you, and not like confrontational challenge, but like challenge you to think differently, challenge you to try something new, challenge you to step outside of what you're used to, especially if you have goals and things that you want to accomplish, and you're sharing those with me. And then I'm like, well, what did we do towards this goal? Or we're talking about it and I'm giving ideas, or why have you tried this or whatever. Like some men don't want that, because I think that it gives them an added layer of pressure, and that can be a turnoff, obviously, because that's something that I had to learn about men. Because I've always thought that men want, a woman who's pretty and smart and cool and, can hold her own and all of these things that I am. But it turns out that you can consider yourself high value. Like I consider myself high value, but if I'm not what the person wants, then it doesn't matter if I'm high value or not, because in their eyes, based on what they want and what they're comfortable with and what, type of partner that they desire to have, whether that's good or bad or whatever, if I don't fit that, then I'm not high value in that regard. You see
And
what I'm saying?
some men are just intimidated by that because they're not comfortable with their own circumstances. So it's a reflection of like how they value themselves, because they look at you as competition versus a partner that they can build with. So that's what I found mostly in those circumstances.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people, especially men, are afraid of being outgrown. You know, they're afraid of showing up at a party or at a wedding and everyone's being like, "Man, Karen looks really good." Eddie kind of falling off though. Everyone hates that conversation. They don't want to be whispered about as the one that's like not on the same level or the higher level than their woman. Because it looks like lopsided. It looks like, man, he's not winning. Even though, like, I would look at it like if my woman is killing it, that I'm an extension of that. But some men don't see that. They don't want to be with a woman that's like doing too well or even growing too fast. Even if it's in the relationship, even if it's because of them, they just don't want to see that. They don't. Damn, man, slow down. You know what I mean? It's like, damn, yeah, it's kind of sad, man. I think it's turned into this competitive situation where people just can't trust each other because they don't want to be left to be like, man, I'm not enough. I guess everyone's afraid to not be enough.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that is unfortunate. And I know on the last show we talked about like the education gap between Black women and Black men, and how that kind of is impacting dating. Do we think that are Black women too accomplished for the dating pool that they're in? What do you guys have to say about that? Because I'm hearing and reading and seeing that a lot on videos. This is just a, I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just asking you, what are your thoughts on that? Because we know,
Everybody can make excuses about every reason why
Yeah,
Black women and Black men are not getting together in relationships and Black love and everything. I mean, you know, you can have feather eyelashes, and that might be why men and women.
yeah,
I mean, it can literally be anything. And maybe there are women out there that are like, oh, if he doesn't have a degree, I'm not dating him. Like, once again, I'm not the person to talk about when it comes to that, because I've been taught to love everyone based on their character and who they are as a person. It doesn't matter how much money you make, how tall you are. Like, it's about who you are, because you can be the finest person on the planet. You can make $100 trillion and just be
yeah.
spiritually wrong, not be the right person, and it just be off.
Yeah,
So
I agree with 100%. And the reason I sound so, the truth is, I think God gives you everything you want in the beginning. He'll give you the person that you thought you wanted on paper, and you find out, oh wow, that's not what I wanted. You know what I mean? And then you humble down to know that I want just a good, loving, caring person who looks nice. You know what I mean? Like, it don't gotta be this whole booty like this, face like that, hair like this. Like, it don't gotta be like that when you're like a teenager. You're trying to, kind of weird science your wife. You know what I mean? And
or because I'm high valued and married,
yeah,
I have options, and I just,
yeah,
because I'm married to a high value whatever, and he has options, I just got to be okay with. Nah, none of that.
yeah. No, it's facts. It's really true. And I always think it's funny when people talk about a guy with money, because I'm, like I said, the millionaires I know, they don't even give their girlfriends or wives access to that money. Like, they'll give it to, like, they'll put it in an estate somewhere, and even if they die, it's almost like that's not even your money. Almost like, oh wow, I thought you were married to that dude. No, no, but yeah, I love him, and they don't have this idea that you get access to that money. A lot of
are
rich
the
people do
women,
not.
I'm sorry to cut you off. Are the women beautiful? Are they like, what is that?
Yeah, no,
They
they're
they
like,
look the part, right? It's the
yeah, they
optics of
look
it
the
all.
part, they look beautiful, whatever, all the standard things of like clothes.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But I think I see it both ways too. I see women that use men to just make themselves look good too. But no, I think men are just worse about it though. And I think now that we're living in a world where women are demanding integrity and respect because they have all the things that traditionally a man would have provided, men don't know how to react to that. It's like, you mean I can't lie to you? You mean what I mean? Like, you mean I can't call you a bitch? I mean, really? Oh, okay. You mean I gotta talk to you like a person? That's gonna be real hard, you know. And
For
that's
the
what we
men
are.
that for the men that responded, I would love to know what do they think the market is made up of. So if they say the market establishes your value, what are those criteria? What are those boxes? And who are the who are the people that they would equivalate to being, let's just say, a 10? Who are the people that they're saying, okay, because you have to establish, right? If you have a market and you have value, you have to establish something or someone that is in that category box to be able to assess the other people against that.
That's a great question. I mean, let's put it out there for the people that are in the chat. There's we have a few men in the chat. Do you guys want to take a stab at Tiffany's question? If you feel like the market determines your value as opposed to you yourself, then what's the criteria for that? How is that, what is that measured against? I definitely would love to hear thoughts from the men as well who think that way. You need to call your husband because he said it. But you know what? He did follow up, and he gave an example. He said a tall, handsome black man in like somewhere in Japan, I can't remember the exact city, is not going to be valued the same. If you drop a tall, handsome black man off in Japan, he's not gonna have the same value as if you drop him off at 5 Points in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. So I think that there's some validity there, right? I feel like there's some validity there. And in that regards, I can understand how market value, because just like, okay, so I was recently in Miami, and we've all been to Miami. We know, like, I call Miami the land of the beautiful people, because most people in Miami are very fit. Like, they keep themselves in good shape down there. There's a lot of pressure, I think, in that area to look good, because there are so many people down there that value beauty, right? They value beauty. They value being in shape, for whatever reason. I don't know if it's because it's hot outside and they're, people are half naked all the time down there. Like, I don't really understand the reason for it, but I just know every time I go to Miami, I'm always like, but there's a lot of like there's a lot of enhancements going on there too.
But there's a lot of non-black people in Miami. Let's be real. The Miami that we are talking about is not Dade County, Miami. It's not where the black people are, Miami. It's the Cuban. It's the non-black people.
That's fair.
So it's like, okay, so are we competing? Like, I don't know. It's a different environment.
Right. But would you? So okay, so that's fair to say. But would you agree that if someone that is considered very attractive for one area, like say maybe a rural area where there's not like a ton of black women, or, there's not a ton of attractive black women, whatever that means, and you take them and you put a woman that's considered very attractive in an area where there's not a lot of other beautiful women around, then would that make her value then go up, right? Because she's rare, would you say? But if you take that same woman and you put her in downtown DC, where there's all kinds of beautiful women walking around everywhere, right? Does that kind of diminish her value a little bit in terms of what we're talking about here? Would you agree with that or disagree?
I think
go ahead.
I was just gonna say that, like, I think, like, I will ultimately, I think at the end of the day, beauty is the eye of the beholder. But I think, generally speaking, most men just want a woman that they can get along with, a woman that's not going to push back. I think I sent you something a while back, which is kind of crazy, because a friend of mine was telling me he got through a recent divorce like a year and a half ago, and he's part of this community called Passport Bros. I don't know if you've heard of this. Mm-hmm. It's about like
I've heard of it.
It's about
for anybody who's tuned in that doesn't know about Passport Bros, will you give just a little bit of background? Do you mind?
Yeah. So Passport Bros is a community of men from all over the world. You don't got to actually be rich, but most of them are affluent, and most of them just don't get along with Western women. And it's people from all races, but what they do is they have a community in South America, like Colombia, Brazil, Argentina, places that have horrible economies where your Canadian or American dollar can go a long way. And what they love is they have these women that they just kind of, are in relationship with. Some of them are rotated women that they have with like other guys or other women. Like they have like sometimes 3 at a time, or it's crazy. But the whole point is that they all brag about how these are the best women because they're agreeable. They don't give lip. Like my boy sent me, and I think I forwarded it to us, but like there was a whole expose on like Vice, and he was talking about, look at this girl. She cooks for me. She irons my clothes. And it was just like, the women back home would never do something like that. Iron my clothes or make my food or ask me how my day was. And it was just so crazy to hear, because my friend was saying that that's why he's kind of done with Western women. And there's this kind of narrative now, and it's relevant to this conversation because there's this narrative that women just want too much. And a lot of it's because women want preference, because they are educated. They are corporate. They are making their own women. So they're entitled to say, no, I don't want to have Chinese food tonight. I want Italian. But that's a big deal to someone that had his heart set on a pizza. You feel me? Like it's just, oh, I'm going to Colombia. They don't talk back. You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying, but so basically, essentially, what you're saying is those men feel like the women in those areas are more valuable because they are more accommodating, because they are more docile. Like, and then you have to think about it. Like, yeah, I'm learning more and more that is something that a lot of men want, and I don't necessarily think that's a good thing. I don't want a man that wants a woman like that, obviously. So we're not in alignment. I'm not in alignment with those type of men because I am going to push, and again, because say again.
All you think about is coming to America. What do you like?
Right, exactly. Bark like a dog, a big dog. That's just funny. But yes, it seems like, and honestly, it's sad at this day and age, but it seems like that is what a lot of men want. It feels safe to them, and that's what a lot of type of women that a lot of men are marrying, thinking that's it. But even then, they're not happy because they're still going out and cheating with other women. So you have this woman that's ironing your clothes and doing your laundry and cooking your meals and all of that kind of stuff, and not giving you any pushback or challenging you in any way, or letting you sit where you are, which is that in of itself should be a red flag for you. Because if you're dating or partner with someone who's okay with you not growing and just being comfortable at whatever level you're at, not trying to help you get further along, then I don't know. It just seems like if that's what you want, then maybe that is also part of the reason why there's like some type of disconnect between us. Because as more and more women are becoming more and more educated and, leveling up in terms of their finances and able to do all the things that they like to do, even a lot of women now are saying, screw it. I want a baby. I can provide for the child myself. I don't need a man for that. Like, I can go have a baby on my own. And they're doing that, And so it's like, not to say that's good or bad or wrong or right. I mean, I think if that's what you want to do, yes, you shouldn't let the fact that you haven't found the right partner keep you from living the life that you want. If you can do those things independently, then I encourage you. I think that you should do them. There's nothing wrong with that. But it just seems to me that there's such a contradiction between what it's like men are fussy and arguing and calling us delusional because of what we would like, or our expectations and our standards. But at the same time, because we're not falling into that box of safeness. That's what they're calling that safe and peace, but it's really just complacency and, in my opinion, basicness. I don't know.
I'm like, you can't even. That means you can't even have a conversation with that person because they're not going to have an opinion.
Right. Like, it's whatever you want. Okay.
Like that's whack.
And then you're not growing as a person in a relationship with a person like that. You're just not, because they're not challenging you in any way, shape, or form. They're just accommodating you. And you're going to get bored with that, as a lot of men do. And then you're going to go cheat with women who are not necessarily like that. So why wouldn't you? It just seems silly to me that men marry girls like that, but then they go and cheat. It's like, you're obviously not getting something. You're missing something within your relationship, but you're going to call me delusional because I want a man that's not like that. That's crazy to me. All right. I got some comments in the chat that I want to go to real quick. Adrian Mack says, I don't want a woman like that because I would run over her. I need a little lip. Okay. So he's obviously a guy that prefers a woman that's going to give him some pushback. And again, I don't think that we have to associate pushback as a negative thing, right? I think also Black women get a bad rap for being like mouthy or sassy or whatever word that you want to use. And I think you can give pushback without it being like a negative thing. It's just like, I'm going to challenge you because, one, you're not always right. Two, I am someone who has my own ideas and I could help you. So there's that, So that back and forth doesn't necessarily have to be like we're fighting, It could just be I am challenging you to think differently and you're challenging me to think differently. And I would think that's how you grow and build in your relationship. But that doesn't seem to be what people are actually want. So I don't know. I just don't know. All right. What's one trait that people overrate in dating value? Put it in the chat. What's one trait? And then you two, what do you think? One trait that people overvalue in terms of the dating economy.
Looks. And the reason why I say that because I call it.
You can't say that because you have a very handsome husband now. It's so funny when people say that to me.
I call it the shallow house syndrome.
How so?
Y'all remember the movie Shallow House?
Funny,
yes.
Man. Come on, Tiff. No disrespect, Tiff, but you are that, man.
No, I'm saying like I'm talking about from a man looking at like the women, right? Like if they're only dating women that look a certain way, right? Normally what they end up finding out is that that's all she has to contribute. And she has nothing else to offer. And so it doesn't end up working out at the end. So then they end up settling for somebody like me who is, it's just.
What do you mean someone like you? Oh, you mean that girl?
Yes, but I'm saying if you just focusing on, she gotta look, she gotta be model type, it's some guys out there that's like she gotta be model type. The standard model look. Like I'm not a model look. I can model. I'm photogenic. I can do some photos, right? But I'm just saying, like, if you're going for that standard type and looks is all you looking for, that's all you're gonna get is looks. You're not gonna get a well-rounded person. So that's what I mean by that.
And the sad part, like Eddie said earlier, is that some men will actually marry women based on that fact. Like you actually marry someone and then wonder why the marriage doesn't work out, or when the divorce comes, it's nasty and ugly and they're getting half of all your money and you're sitting over there bitter, like a lot of these professional athletes, because you married for looks. Like at the end of the day, you married someone that wasn't anything but a very pretty face. And now you're paying the price for that. But it continues to happen. So who's at fault for that? I feel like it's just at the end of the day, that's the mindset of certain men. And until they start to kind of adjust, what's valuable, I think that will continue to happen. So looks, I think, Tiffany, to your point, I am learning that also as I grow and as I like dabble in and out. Like I'll jump into the dating pool and then I'll get very discouraged and then I'll jump right back out again. So I'm not lasting long in the dating pool when I am out there. But, I think I'm like, I at least learn something every time I put myself out there a little bit, and then I hop back out and then I sit on that and I continue to grow and just think about like what it is that Carolyn wants and what I value, and then the type of partner that I am hoping to attract, right? And then maybe I'll put myself back out there again. But for me personally, it's kind of like a process. Eddie, what's one trait that we overvalue?
It's gonna sound weird, but yeah, man, submissiveness. Like I don't like. This is gonna sound really weird, but I love the fact that I have a fear of my wife. That if I slapped her or cheated on her, that it would be over. Mm-hmm. I couldn't trust a woman that would let me slap her or cheat on her. Like I do believe that we, second chances and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I couldn't be with a woman that was I told you to, overcooking the grits again. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry. And then I could like finesse her with some bouquets and whatever, a Mercedes or something cute. I don't know, man. I like that I have a woman that don't play. I love it. It keeps me honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay, so we got looks, we got submissiveness. Look, I asked the question and I ain't even thought about my own answer. I mean, I definitely think looks is one too. Like just thinking about my own personal, situations. Like I am someone who has placed a lot of value on looks. And what I found is that that is not always a good thing. I would say something that is overvalued. I think, and I think it kind of ties into looks is just like, I don't know. I was going to say sexual chemistry, but like,
I need that.
Eddie
That's
looked at me
important.
like,
That's
I
important.
need that.
That
but
is
I mean,
important.
I need it too, but I meant like
Listen.
initially. So I think that I
Oh,
have like initially when I meet certain men that I find attractive, like that tends to tie into like sexual chemistry. Like I feel like the sex would be good. Like you see what I'm saying? And I think that is also has gotten me in trouble in dating before because I get into relationships and then the sex is good, but it's also a very toxic and unhealthy relationship, and I'm not getting anything out of it other than the sex. And so I think that if you're looking for something meaningful, then that can be a trait that is overvalued. Now, once you've gotten to know someone and you guys are in a healthy relationship, then yeah, obviously sexual chemistry is very important because I think if you don't have good sexual chemistry or a good sex life in general, that could really cause problems in your relationship. I personally value sex within my relationships
oh hell
very
yeah.
highly.
Yeah, it's got to be good. Because
Yeah.
that's the one you're gonna be with, forever.
Right, exactly. But then that ties into the looks too sometimes because it's like, okay, if I don't find you attractive enough to where I can see myself having sex with you, then that's why would I pursue or try to move forward in the relationship, even if you're a good guy. And that has happened before. Like I've dated men that just were good men, and it's not that they didn't treat me well and they, had all these other characteristics that I really like, but I just physically could not see myself going there, and therefore I ended the relationship or
Well, let me ask you this
stopped
though.
dating them.
Do you think? And I'm just asking because I kind of feel like this is what I don't know. So let's say you're with this beautiful man, and then y'all have sex, and it's not good. Does that diminish some of the beauty to you?
Yes.
I would think because I think it's the
Yes.
same way on the other end too. Like sometimes I
Mm-hmm.
get a woman that I think is attractive, but then the
Mm-hmm.
sex is so good, I'm like, oh man, this girl all that. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm locking this down.
Yeah.
On the other end. So yeah, I figured it'd be like if he was like, y'all always think of that scene from Waiting to Exhale where old boy like, and Whitney's like, I'm like, she probably like, yeah, this dude's trash now. Like,
Yeah. No, definitely that is I would definitely be like turned off by that. And then I actually might end it because I don't
yeah, I
know if
would
I
too.
could get past
Definitely.
that. You know what I'm saying?
I
Like
can't get past
it's
that
just
either.
important. So if that were to happen, it might be the end of the relationship altogether, to be quite honest. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that is exactly what would be the case. Um, okay. I didn't get no responses in the chat, and I have a few people on here. What's one trait that people overrate in dating value? Drop that in the chat for me. How can
I
we,
think
or
the
how do
whole
we,
money discussion.
what happened?
I think the whole money discussion, like,
Oh, yeah, it's like overvalued.
yeah, like
Okay. Why do you think that?
I think it is because, like, first of all, you know, to be honest, depending on the area you live in, 6 figures is nothing. You still broke. Like,
Mm, okay. Okay, DC.
I, I know in Loudoun County, a 1 bedroom apartment costs $2,000 a month to rent.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Yes, 2 grand, 2 grand. So I'm just like, everybody's like 6 figures, 6 figures, 6 figures. It's all relative. Everything is relative.
Mm-hmm.
So you can still be making six figures and having roommates because where you live, it just doesn't, the dollar doesn't go as far versus living, down south somewhere where the money can go far. So people just make, you can be in Oklahoma, I don't know, making 65,000, like it's all relative about what market you're in, where the money flows, how long the money can go. Cause I just think it's just all relative, this whole money thing.
Yeah. Do you think, okay, so do you think that the money conversation is more perpetuated by women or by men? I've heard a lot of men say they don't care about money. Like they will date someone that
They
doesn't
don't care when it comes to women. Like she could be
Yeah.
a cocktail waitress. Men don't care how much money women make.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I've seen it personally like 100,000 times. They don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah,
Why do you
money's
think
used.
that it's so valued or
I think it's valued
overvalued
because most
from a
men
woman's
use it.
perspective?
I think men use it as a flex to be able to have a hierarchy over a certain woman. Like if I know, to the same scenario, we at a club, we see a beautiful woman like Tiffany, and I see a guy like like your Jay, now husband, but at the time he's just there. But I saw him drive in an Altima, and I came in a Maserati. I might throw, I might feel confident to know I can step to you, even though he's 6'6". But I came in Maserati, he had a Altima, and I might talk about money like a corny dude. Yeah, I came in here, I got properties, and that kind of gives me like a foot in to guys that I physically couldn't compete with. And I think that's why there's an obsession with money with men, because we started this whole like hierarchy with money. Like, yeah, I know I'm not 6 foot. No, I don't got no six pack. But yo, I got money that keeps me in the game against these good looking guys, you know? And I think like that's the obsession. So that we pass that obsession to y'all. So now y'all look at us the same way because we started it. We made y'all look at money the way we did, you know?
Mm.
Because I mean, I don't have muscle, but I sure got a big bank account. No, yeah, I got a receding hairline, but oof, my money went. You know what I mean? Like I can compete now because I got all this money.
Yeah. There's a question in the chat. P Ski 13. How come some women value it so much? I think some women associate having a lot of money with some level of security. And I think you have to really look at that when, as a man, you probably should consider like where that comes from a woman. Like, is she valuing money like that? Because honestly, if you're, go ahead.
I was gonna say it probably comes from a life of struggle, or just so there were two types of people as I'm growing up, right? I'm seeing the girls that got the guys like buying them, taking them to the mall, buying them fits. Like, where they do that at? And then there's the person, then there's me, like, where they do that at? Like,
okay. Me too.
So I think I'm like, dang, okay, like. So I don't know. I think it comes from a life of struggle and one and a half. So automatically you fixate in your mind that I want to have these things, so I need to be with a man that can provide these things and has money.
Yeah, but I don't think that women who have made a comfortable lifestyle for themselves, like they are in a position to take care of themselves financially already, place the value on money that women who don't have that do, right? Because to your point, like you said, when you were dating before you got married, you already had the house, the car, the money, you were already doing well independently. So that wasn't something like having a man come in and financially be able to, take care of you or give you that financial security wasn't a necessity because you already had your own financial security. And to your point about those girls, yeah, because I've actually dated wealthy men, not rich men, wealthy men. And I wasn't getting bags and shoes and shit. Like, like you see like men who can afford to do it, certain women they do it for whatever reason. I don't know. But then I feel like when they're dating women who have their own, they don't necessarily do it like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because they know it's going to take another level of something else in them, and it's not the things.
Yeah.
It's not the fly you out, or it's not those things. It's actually going to take some emotional something emotional that attracts the person to that attracts that person to you, and not what you can just buy them or offer them.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're like about at time, so definitely want to start to wrap things up with our last minute takes. So, Tiffany can give her your any closing thoughts on tonight's topic, and then Jay, and I guess I'll close this out.
I would say take a self-assessment of your own value, and based off of your value, what do you think the partner that you can attract should come to the table with? Not looking at what society, social media, anything else is saying out there, what you should believe in, but based off of who you are, who do you think would be your perfect partner? What do you want in a partner?
Eddie, what you got?
I think the ultimate currency in any relationship is safetyness. Being safe with somebody, being in a space with somebody, especially someone you love, that you can feel like you can build with them. You won't feel judgment on them. And I hate to say this, but I do believe that we all have to go through the rigmarole and the nonsense of getting hurt or hurting someone even, and then we can appreciate someone for their true value. Because I think in the beginning we are socialized to want what we see on TV or what auntie and uncle told us what we wanted. And then we get it and we find out that's not everything we wanted. And then you find out the hard way that, I would just like somebody that can listen to me, someone that can tell a joke here and there, someone that I can just build with, hold my hands with, and just have a nice time with without feeling like the heaviness of what I used to feel from trying to entertain somebody. And I think, but I do believe that there has to be, not has to, but it feels like you have to get there, but you have to kind of be the prey and the predator before all that. Unfortunately, I think.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Tiffany and Eddie, as always, for your insight, your thoughts. Love you guys to death. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're here every other Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Jay sends his love. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it, so there's no like fancy intro or outro when he's not around. So, like I said, I would honestly just say, I mean, at the end of the day, the value starts with yourself, right? Like, it's a lot of things are shaped by perception, but your worth is what you determine it to be, not what someone tells you that it is. And so, to piggyback off what Tiffany said, I think the goal is to examine, the things that you value within yourself, and, look for those same type of things for a partner. And with that, we're going to close it out. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you not next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after that. Have a great night and bye.
Bye. Yes.